Hello, today I'm going to do something a little bit different. Not that I've done much to establish a pattern, I suppose, but anyways, my name is Alex Luna for De Sol a Sol, and I want to start with a saying, and this is by Samuel Goldwyn, and this is what it says, or this is what he has said. The harder I work, the luckier I get. The first time I heard it, it really did catch my attention because, well, it says a lot with so little, and because there's a lot of people that have a different opinion as far as what is luck. Is there such thing as luck? When I was a little kid, I remember people used to walk around with a rabbit's foot. I know that's a superstition, but some people seem to do some catastrophizing, thinking of this is the worst. I have the worst luck, right? Or I'm just the luckiest person. Is there such thing as luck? There are a few other sayings, so I want to assign you a little bit of homework. See who said this. See if you can Google it, or maybe you know it by memory, or I guess now there's those ChatGPT models or whatever. Who said this? Understand people by their actions, and you'll never be fooled by their words. What does that mean? So there's something that I saying that I now have, and this is something that I've learned throughout the years, is that I only believe half of what I see, and I don't believe anything I hear. And to put some context as to what that might mean is that sometimes I might walk in the middle of a scenario where the event already happened, and I only have my point of view, even though I saw what I saw. I saw half of the story, right? Half the story already happened, and it might have been instigated by something or someone else. So even though I saw what I saw, it might only be half truth, and that's one of the things that when people witness an event, and then the police have to go around and get everybody's statement, even though people saw it from different perspectives and from different people, and it seems like they get a different story, same but different story. And then there's that story we have within our mind, the internal dialogue, and I guess so. I'm going to pivot here to perception. And what does that mean? What is perception? What do we think of? What is real? What is the now? What is this? What is that? And our perception seems to be made up of what? Our experience, what we have learned, our biases, our mental models. Does that affect how we perceive things? I know that there's some of us that have black and white thinking, where it's all, right, it's the worst ever, or the best ever in a scenario. There's a lot of gray in between. So let's see, do I have so do I have a different perspective from 10 years ago? Yeah, I kind of see things differently. So kind of see reality a little bit different, but the same. I'm still in the same world, right? And there's so many questions, so many ideas. I've heard some interesting things the last few weeks on YouTube, and one of them that I mentioned in my prior video was that the mouse Utopia, and it was mentioned by Rudyard from What If Alt History when he was on impact theory, and that's something that I haven't heard in a while. So that's a different perspective as far as what to make sense of different patterns as far as what we are seeing now in today's world, because most people are being influenced, and by that I mean their perception, right, with these smartphones. So a 10-year-old sees the world differently from when I was 10 years old, because we have decades in between those two experiences, and what I considered normal back then, before YouTube and the internet and smartphones, it's a little bit different to what their sense of normal is, and how they're influenced, and their perception of reality, as far as perception of what motivates them, what they want to accomplish, what it is that they want to be when they grow up. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. And when it comes to perception and how we're influenced, well, I guess I should pose this question. Can we be influenced? Can someone change our perception? Can someone change the way we see the world, our ideas? Are we fixed? Now, I do believe that we are calibrated differently as far as new ideas, and how we incorporate new ideas into our perception of reality. There's the big five of personality, when it comes to how everybody's calibrated different, as far as openness, extroversion, conscientiousness, neuroticism, and agreeableness, right? So everybody's calibrated different. That's why everybody's going to see a different reality whenever a common event is witnessed, and everybody has a different perception. Everybody has a different way of seeing who's the victim, who is the victim, right? That's a term that's seen in a different light, as far as the sensitivity to what that might mean. But I don't want to change the conversation. I don't want to go there just yet. The ability, who said this? The ability to tolerate stress starts with a change of attitude. Guess that's a good question that I'm going to bring about. Should we be able to tolerate stress? What is stress, and how much should we tolerate? There's different levels of stress, I suppose, but someone that has been in the workforce for a few decades will be calibrated different as far as the sensitivity to normal stress, to someone that just barely hit the workforce, right? Someone that just say it's 10 days into the workforce. My oldest son, he is 15 years old. He had his first job this year. This summer's over, so he's no longer working. He is now back to being a full-time student. And he did experience some learning curves as far as being new to the workforce. And I didn't know how well he was going to take to that, when the boss pulls you to the side and says, there's some things you're doing good. However, here are the things that you can improve on. He actually took it well, and he actually took it to heart, and he wanted to make changes, and he was asking us how he should tackle that as far as improving. And at the end of the day, I'm assuming he's welcome back next summer. And that's a good thing. And it looks like, according to the boss, he improved a lot. That's good. But he was very excited also when he saw the first paycheck, because remember, you go to work and you don't get nothing in return, not for like 2 weeks. That's something new as far as instant gratification to the term called sacrifice. I know there's a lot of people that have listened to Jordan Peterson, so I know that there's that concept of sacrifice, as well as Jonathan Peugeot, as far as sacrifice. But back to the ability to tolerate stress, how it starts with a change of attitude, changes perception. Now, earlier in my videos, I said that I mentioned a few books that I have. One of the books that I didn't have a picture of is this Cognitive Therapy. Can you see the author's name? Yeah. And I mentioned that I posted a picture of the DBT book that I have, that I own. I own the hard copy in Spanish. and the electronic version in English, and also the audible one. But this one is the one that the professionals where I work use. So this is the one that I do recommend. Now, I mentioned that I don't have, well, I do have the textbook in an electronic version, but I got the flashcards, and they're very awesome as far as trying to develop new coping skills and new ways of perceiving the world. Now, I come from a broken home, and I think if you've seen some of my videos, you kind of get that. And so, so I have a thing about the locus of control and reality testing because of my experience in my family. And anyways, it's something that it's close. It's something that, I don't know. It's me, I guess. It's who I am, who I've become because of my past. So, anyways, I do have these flashcards, and so I want to mention some of these things that the flashcards yield. So, number 41, play mindful. Sorry, not play. Let me start again. Flashcard number 41. Pay mindful attention to others. That works great in a work setting, right? Even though they're your peers, especially when it's a superior, customer, client, you name it. Also to yourself. Sometimes there's things we should do, and we should not ignore those. So sometimes our conscious kind of gives us those reminder cues. Sometimes if we ignore them, in my opinion, they seem to come up by the unconscious, as some people might say subconscious, some might even say the spirit, the soul, some might even say the promptings of the Holy Spirit when it comes to spiritual aspects. Whatever you want to call it, whatever perspective you have, my opinion, you don't need to adopt my opinion. You're more than welcome to your opinions. Anyways, as a disclaimer, everything I say here on this channel is opinion based. So take everything with a grain of salt, and it is for entertainment purposes. And some might say, well, that's my my type of entertainment. Some might say, not so much. And maybe that's why you have so little views. Hey, that might be what it is, but it is what it is. Reality testing has a section where you have to accept reality, have to see things not as I wish them to be, but as they really are, right? And that's part of being able to accept the things that I cannot change, and accept the things that I can change, to be able to discern the different, to be able to know the difference, right? I think from AA. So number 41, because I'm back to where I was going with the flashcards. Number 41, pay mindful attention to others. I guess it begins with active listening. So there's a saying, Daniel Kahneman, I think is the one that says that, I'm going to paraphrase here. There's a difference between noise and signal, right? So chatter, I think that's somebody else, mindsight, the chatter in our voice. Some we have to ignore, some we do have to pay attention to, obviously. So paying mindful attention to others begins with active listening, not trying to listen to so you can respond, but try to understand. There's 8 billion of us, and we all have our opinion. So I can't be right 100% of the time. And if I'm supposed to learn something new, it has to come from you. It has to come from others. It has to come from a textbook, from a lecture, from a YouTube video, from a podcast, from a song, from a friend, from a loved one, from a parent, from a sibling, from a kid. Yeah, I can still learn from my kids, believe it or not. He's 15 years old. I got a feeling that sometimes I'm going to be able to learn some things from him. My youngest one is 11. Yeah, it's being a parent is a learning curve. I'm still learning that aspect as well. So being mindful, attention to others, active listening to truly understand. But I guess with that, we also have to have the concept of empathy. Somebody would say emotional skill, EQ, emotional skill. What might that be? I think there's some even say that the big 5 factor of personality should be 6, and one of those should be to include EQ, emotional intelligence, or is it no? Maybe it's not emotional intelligence. Maybe it's something about truth, truthful intelligence, or something like that. But anyways, either of those two, I say, yeah, they got something. These people that study psychology, some of these people, they spent their lives doing this. And I say kudos to them, and I've been learning a lot from them. So number 41, paying mindful attention to others. And then now, as far as talking to others, I know a lot of people have a fear of public speaking, and I guess that is the fear of, I mentioned some of this in my other video when I was mentioning the mouse Utopia and behavioral sync. So that was an experiment it started in the 50s, then it was morphed into a different experiment by some psychologist, and it ended in the 70s. If you're interested, give it a go, do research on that. That's quite interesting. And but anyways, with the behavior sync and mouse Utopia, and as far as why those mouse societies, even though they were social, when they started flourishing, they developed social enclaves, social groups, right? The tribal, they became social, because, I guess rats, I know they're different from people, but they are social animals as well. And long story short, they began to lose their social cohesion. The more populated they got, the less they socialized, until they eventually ended up with complete breakdown, complete chaos, and they, what's the word that I want to say? They ceased to exist. They stopped procreating altogether. The most famous is Universe 25, but yeah, all those universes, quote unquote, did not have a good outcome. I'm trying to find, let me check my notes here. I wrote the psychologist's name. You see here one of my notes. Give me a second. Let me see if I can find the psychologist, because I should mention it. Might make it easier when you try to look some of the stuff up. Calhoun? Is it Calhoun? The name just popped up. Sorry, I have a lot of notes here. Calhoun. Look at that. Finding all these good notes from all this. But anyways, I don't want to deviate too much. So I think it's John Calhoun and his Universe 25, the most famous one. And with that behavioral sync, and also what I mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned it in my last video or not, but I'll mention it here about, so let me go back to where I was before I started sidetracking, and I'll come back to this. Fear of public speaking. So according to the psychologist, in my opinion, it seems like most people fear to be rejected, fear to be ridiculed, fear to look dumb, fear to be made fun of, to make mistakes. Obviously, if you're going to do something in public and everybody's watching you, if you make a mistake, that anxiety is just going to grow and grow and grow. So why do people fear public speaking the most? And with that, there's a big trend that I think it started decades ago. I'm thinking like maybe 4 decades ago. I think maybe even sooner. It happened. It first started where it ended up in the textbooks, and people started mentioning it in their in like magazines or something like that, or journalism. the Hikikomori in Japan, as far as extreme social withdrawal, to where they would withdraw from society, sometimes like minimum 1 month, sometimes 6 months, where they wouldn't even leave the house. Now, this is back in the 80s. This is before the age of the internet, the age of the smartphone, the age of YouTube, you name it. So even back in those days, like I said, they coined that term Hikikomori, Hikikomori in Japan. So extreme social withdrawal. I think that's different than, in my opinion, different than agoraphobia. But anyways, if that's something you want to look into, that's kind of interesting. And why am I saying that? Because some people are beginning to think that this trend is growing more and more as more people are starting to withdraw from normal social groups, to normal going out and about. As soon as after school, you're out and about riding bikes, riding skateboards, playing marbles. Back in the day, remember we used to play marbles. All those outdoor activities, and that seems to be not so much to the point where people are afraid to leave their house. I know COVID did a huge number. Give me a second. I forgot to plug this in. So give me 1 second. I'm gonna have to plug in my 1 second. Bear with me for just a few. Have you heard of the mouse Utopia experiment from the 70s? And have you heard that that recent stream with on impact theory? Or actually, he's been on a few other places mentioning that, because I started looking that up some more. And Rudyard, I'll call him Rudy for short. I don't even know if he likes that the nickname Rudy. He hasn't used it, so I'm assuming maybe he doesn't like it. But yeah, this Hikikomori phenomena started becoming it started getting public people's attention, psychologists and healthcare workers in Japan, but it has been spreading to East Asia. But here in the States, I think we're heading there pretty quick. So anyways, if you haven't got a chance to look at any of that, it's entertaining, and it kind of pertains to where our future might be, where we start to withdraw a little bit. And so, remember when I mentioned a bit about if we should be, as far as being okay with what did I say that I lost my place, because I did have it in some of my notes. As far as uncomfortable, being okay with being uncomfortable in stressful situations, as far as being calibrated to that, let me see. Here it is. That quote, I think it started with the quote: "The ability to tolerate stress starts with a change of attitude." But the ability to tolerate stress, again, the fear to be judged, the fear of our opinions to be, we're done because of our opinions that we might have, the way we see things, or because we don't have the right answer. Remember back then when the teacher would call on random people, right, Alex, what do you say? Or Alex, go to the blackboard, and yes, write down that algebra problem number 27. Oh yeah, okay, right, and you're on the spot. Remember that? As far as being embarrassed or whatnot, so the ability to tolerate stress starts with a change of attitude. And I guess depends how calibrated we are when it comes to our ease with stress. Now, there's no more everyday stress to more stressful situations to painful situations. Now, I know that stress is not created equal in every circumstance. It's different, but again, I started with my saying earlier that my son got a first job and it was new to the workforce, but I think he was able to adapt fairly well, and kudos to him. But some people are starting to really have a really dread for hitting the workforce. Like the word they fear to make mistakes. They fear to be corrected. That what do you call it? Productive feedback, and that's because they want you to grow, right? The boss wants you to grow and grow and grow, not to cut you down. But anyways, we're beginning to be calibrated a little bit different, and maybe because we're not out and about in our social circles anymore, and now we're just in social networks on the ether, which is a little bit different. Anyways, but I just started mentioning some of these, so back to these so I guess they're in order. Well, decreasing order. Number 40, observe body language. Body language. They say that nonverbal language is about 80% of actual communication. Do you think that's true? But anyways, yeah, I know that there's some people that do struggle reading people's body's cues. Also, I hear that there's some people that have problems with irony, or when someone's kind of saying some ironic statements or satire or abstract thinking, that they might not be able to understand that, or they may not be able to read the room, or they're just not as far as being oriented to other people's point of view, especially when it comes to how certain statements might be taken. So emotions don't even play a part. So I guess I'll say this. There's intellectual knowledge, like critical thinking skills, I guess. Then there's emotional knowledge, how well calibrated you are to your own emotions, to other people's emotions, to your perceptions of the situation, and to the nuances of what someone might be saying, and vice versa, to what others are experiencing based on the situation, the scenario. And then there's 3. What is it? So logical, emotional, and the other one is the abstract. I didn't get organized for this because I was just going to do a quick short video, but I do have my notes everywhere and I'm going from one to the other. So maybe I'll just leave it at that. I might be missing the third one. That may not be the most accurate. But body language, there's something to that. And again, and I'll go one further as far as what about other people's perspectives, and what about what we say and how that might affect them. And then I heard this on a video. How do you know when a couple is still doing good? And I think what they said on their podcast is that when somebody, like say you have a couple, and one of them says, "Oh, hey, take a look at that bird," and the other person stops what they're doing and they go check out to see what it is. They say, that couple might have still some hope, because it might be somewhat, they still care what the other people is experiencing, and they might take time to say, okay, well, I'll take time for my world, right, for my whatever it is that I'm doing, or whatever my preference is, to see what the other person, to see what they're interested in, to see what, right? Whereas, don't bother me, like say, hey, check that out, I'm busy. Or maybe, now that I said that, yes, sometimes, I guess in general, as a metaphor, because yes, sometimes there's, I guess, the aspect of urgency, yeah. I'm assuming there's no urgent thing going on, assuming they're just on vacation and all as well. And I guess that brings up to my other, as far as what might be, what keeps us busy. Another thing might be our whatever's going on in our mind, as far as our inner turmoil, our inner imaginings, our inner planning, our inner idea, our inner dialogue. Sometimes we might be present, but not present. There's something that I heard a while back ago, as far as we need to be present. How, or you need to be where your shoes are at, or you need to be where your feet are at. And my feet are here in the now. They're not stuck in the past. They're not walling over the regrets and the shame from my past, right? They're right here. And the same thing with my legs, my feet, my shoes. They're not with the anxieties of tomorrow, right? Tomorrow doesn't even exist. So they're not lost in tomorrow. They're not lost in the past. They're here right now. And sometimes we need to have that active listening, to be present, to be aware of our significant others, their point of reference, their emotional, psychological well-being, their perception, where they're at, what we think and what we say and what we don't say, and what we don't even conjure, what we don't like. Don't you get it, right? Also, what we don't capture. That does play a part when it comes to relationships, when it comes to the workforce, when it comes to education, right? Do you remember being in class? Remember when the professor's giving the lecture and says, "Oh, by the way, we're going to have a quiz tomorrow, and I'm going to summarize everything that's important, and here we go. So I'm going to write it down, and the minute I'm done with that portion, I'm going to erase it, and I'm going to start again. So take notes, and if you didn't take the notes, well, hopefully you get the notes." And if you were paying attention to your friend's conversation, or the person in the back, or whatever, you start ignoring the cues of the professor, or not paying attention, that will affect you in some way, shape, or form. If you're not paying attention, or if you're not even aware that there's a quiz that just kind of surprise quiz or whatnot. But anyways, yeah, sometimes ignoring something plays a part. We should be calibrating ourselves to ignore the right thing, right? Ignore the right thing. Locus of control, that also goes with urges. If we want to ignore, that also goes to urges and impulsivity and planning and being structured and acquiring new skills. Sometimes ignoring our whims, ignoring our prompts of the pleasure aspect of what, for the lack of a better term, that inner desires of, right? Those what we ignore also plays a part. What we listen to plays a part. What we how we perceive plays a part. What we ignore plays a part. What we study, what we don't study, what we ignore. In music, as far as the theory of music, sometimes it takes a long time just to get up and running, right? You have to hear all these things, right? Why can't I just play? Well, you have to, right? You have to get the basics. And as far as if you're going to be reading, you have to understand what those notes mean, and it's a process. But that to say is, whenever you see the composition and there's the notes and it tells you how long to play it, but what's important as well is not just what you play, but the spacing in between the notes, right? The silence in between the notes is just as important as the notes themselves. So what we choose to ignore is just as important as what we choose not to ignore. the things we see are just as important as the things we don't see. Yeah. So, and we all learn in different ways, right? We all have our own preferences as far as we learn by hands-on approach, by seeing somebody else. Sometimes we just want to hear the instructions. Sometimes we want to read it. Sometimes we want all three or four. And there's different modalities, I suppose. But back to some of the things I was going to say. Number 45, when these DBT cards know how to make a simple request. This also ties into the communication. So when it comes to the workforce, to relationships, request. Know how to make a simple request, right? How we say it is just as important as what we say. The words we choose, the tonality. Sometimes we forget to say the obvious. Sometimes we say so much that the other person might forget what it is that we're trying to say. And again, sometimes we have the fear of, and from the Big Factor 5, I guess the more high on extroversion, the more assertive you're going to be. So as far as making simple requests, I found that using clear and specific and timely language helps to be understood better. Asking for clarifications, just to see if I understood you correctly. So this is what I think I heard. So okay, here, bear with me. This is and then you say what it is. And if you got some aspect wrong, they will clarify you. And don't take it the wrong way. Everyone is different. Everybody has different opinions, and everybody's on a different level as far as growth. I'm still a work in progress, and if I'm going to compare myself, I'm going to compare myself to my past self. So know how to make simple requests. Observe body language. That was number 40. Number 41. Pay mindful attention to others. Are you starting to see how they're kind of meshed, how kind of they work together when it comes to better communication skills, better relationships, better outcomes in the work or with the relationships, whether it be with our parents, our kids, our loved ones, our neighbor. I know that from a Christian aspect, the commandment number 2, there's only 2 commandments that Jesus gave, right? Love your neighbor as you love ourselves. 2 commandments. Talk about specific and to the point, right? 2 commandments. Easy for me to remember. But what is the neighbor? I think that's something that's mentioned there, right? Who is your neighbor, right? And how do we love them the way we love ourselves? And we should be, if you are struggling, I highly recommend seeking a therapist, a licensed therapist. There's plenty out there. And also, warning, not every therapist is the same. So if you're iffy about one, just keep searching, because there's great therapists out there for sure. I think the helpline for any mental health issues is 988. If you're really having a crisis, you're in the middle of crisis, call 911. They will send somebody over and they will keep you safe. There's also the suicide prevention hotline, the crisis line. These are 1-800, so toll-free services. They're available 24/7, 7 days a week. So, if you are struggling, there's help. Don't do it alone. Anyways, have I gone on for quite a bit? I don't want to ramble on too long. Also, this saying, and have you found out who said that? who said this. You can't fix what you don't understand. You cannot fix what you don't understand. There's still a lot of things that I don't understand, but I am doing the research out there. I'm still researching. I'm still reading the Bible. I said it before. I'll say it again. I'll take the opportunity to say it again. In case this is your first video, or in case you have only seen like one of my other videos. It is a new channel. Has been collecting dust for a long time. So my favorite theologian is still the Apostle Paul. And I've heard many other theologians out there, but I still haven't found one that beats him. And I still, like the Peruvians, I will double check whatever it is that you're saying. Anyways, because there are some new theologians, new therapists out there, and new Christians. And there's so many denominations nowadays, so whenever they say Christianity, that could mean a lot of things to many people. So there's that. The ability to tolerate stress starts with a change of attitude. The destination matters. We should calibrate ourselves to try to get better perception. I'm big about the reality testing and whatnot. So anyways, I don't receive many comments. I'm assuming that maybe the people that happen, not that there's a lot of people, but the few people that run into my content, they don't tend to leave a comment. I don't know if they like or dislike. If they dislike some portions, I haven't received any comments to see what it is that they dislike. So I'm just going to do my thing until I get some more feedback to see if I can improve. I do think that there's room for improvement. I am imperfect after all. I am a human being. And anyways, I am a work in progress. So anyways, what do you think? Are you bold enough to leave a comment? Do you care enough to give it a like? Do you care enough to follow me? Is it worthwhile? Am I wasting my time? What do you think? Anyways, Alex Luna for The Soul of Soul. Before I sign off, let me change this here a bit. Any suggestions, any feedback? Have you ran into the Mouse Utopia, Universe 25, I lost the one that Hikikomori, the complete social withdrawal, the behavioral sync. What do you think? What about that quote? The harder I think, taking that back. The harder I work, the luckier I get, by Samuel Goldwyn. Anyways, the one thing that, as far as, before I sign off, I do want to say, I'm going to be quick about this new topic. So, back in the 70s, there was a big fear of population doom, that we were swelling at a fast pace, and there was a lot of people that were getting freaked out as far as what we were doing to the environment. I think back then, companies that were going nitty-gritty, they were polluting toxic stuff to the river. So I get it. There is we've come a long way, so I don't want to discredit that. And then the thing about the Amazon forests, where they were just cutting down, and there was still some tribes that were still not modern, and they just wanted to be left alone, but people wanted to make a buck. But anyways, I get it. I do want to be sensitive that there's some things that are important. I get it. But back to where I was going to say, there's a big thing about population fears. So I think maybe that's why Calhoun created that Universe 25 and that experiment that started from the 50s and it went all the way to the 70s. And so anyways, to put this into perspective, do your research, but this is according to my opinion, what I found on the internet a while back. But anyways, I'm going to say this here: opinion-based entertainment. So take this with a grain of salt. Do your own research. It's all opinion. So anyways, the first time we reached 1 billion people, according to the internet, so do your research, it was about 1804. That wasn't too long ago. As a matter of fact, not that long ago, right? As far as the Egyptians, right, the pharaohs, those were 3,000 years ago. So 1804, not that long ago, that's when we first hit 1 billion people. You want to guess when we hit 2 billion? According to the internet, in 2 billion, it was in 1927 when we hit 2 billion. So it took that long, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years to hit 1 billion. And then, how long? Have you done the math? Not that long, right? From 1804 to 1927, and then we hit 2 billion. What about 3 billion? According to the internet, just 33 years later, we were at 3 billion in 1960. Hey, that wasn't that long ago. So remember, Calhoun started in 1950, so there wasn't a 2 billion mark, right? In the 1970s, we were at 4 billion. 1970s. Some people that have gray hair, they were born in the 70s. 4 billion, that's when it first hit in 1970s. In 2023, we're at 8 billion. So you can see why they were freaking out. Now, I know that there's a new trend. I know I follow certain people on the internet. And thanks TLC for keeping me in the know. And anyways, yeah, so there's Peter Calhoun. He wrote that the end of the world is just the beginning. And he talks about that we're headed towards depopulation and all these baby boomers that are going to retire, and there's a lot of them, more than the people hitting the workforce. So there's now there's a different fear as far as depopulation, and I know that there's a lot of people not wanting to have kids. I know that there's 40-year, not the 40-year-old virgin, not the movie that you've seen once or twice in the past, that there's some 40-year-olds that have never had kids and are okay with it, and some 20-year-olds that are like, not me, I'm not going to have any kids. So anyways, but interesting that in the 1974 we were at 4 billion, and in 2024 we're over 8 billion. So just some food for thought. And I know that there's different fears nowadays, and if you haven't picked up Peter Calhoun's books, highly recommend it. There's so many books out there that I recommend. I even have the pictures from some of my other videos if you care to see. I don't think I have them up in my... yeah, anyways, I ramble on long enough. So what do you think to these ideas that I'm throwing out there? It's just entertainment. You're more than welcome to have different opinions. Leave a comment if you are bold enough, if you care enough. Give it a like if you're bold enough, care enough. Again, I don't think I found any video that has 2 likes. Maybe they're trying to tell me something. Maybe not too many views. Maybe they're trying to tell me something. Or maybe it's just the algorithm. I don't know. Like I said, this is, I think, under 15 videos tops. So I get it. But actually, I don't get it because this is all new to me. I don't know how the algo works. But what do you think? Are you bold enough? Am I off? Am I way off? Am I in the right direction? My clothes, hot or cold? How cold am I? How hot am I? Anyways, signing off. Alex Luna for the Soul. Work while there's still daylight. I know that's from sunlight to sunset, sunlight to sun up to sundown, sunset to sunset. It's an old farming term, I think. But anyways, until next time, people. What do you think? Signing off. And I think I will... Is this the last? Yeah, this is not my outro. Is this the outro? That's the outro? I don't know. Where's the outro? That's not it. I lost it. Oh well. I'm being goofy. Alright. I will sign off this time. Until next time, people. Be friendly to the internet, folks. In case you happen to be one that is thinking about going into complete social withdrawal, I don't recommend it. What do you think? All right. Till next time. Okay, really. Next time. Till next time.